the way, the system of education that my grandfather used, although I don't think even he knew the name of it, was a Lancasterian monitorial system. It was developed by a guy named Joseph Lancaster in England in 1798. Lancaster was able, as a single schoolmaster, to teach 1,000 kids. And the Lancasterian schools spread all across the world.
Wow.
It was a primary method of education used in the British colonies. Lancaster caught a lot of criticism, however, because the alternative to his system were church-based schools that taught religion to members of their church, and generally only for the upper class of people. He caught criticism for two reasons. First of all, in his monitorial system, they weren't teaching one sectarian view of religion. He let the kids, the Bible was one of the reading materials, but he could let the kids could read it from any viewpoint they wanted to. They did their own reading. They weren't being dictated to by a minister.
Right.
And second of all, he was teaching lower class kids. He was open to anybody who had a couple of shillings to pay for it.
And a desire to learn.
And a desire to learn. And that was considered very dangerous. That, we don't want the lower class people learning, becoming educated.
Because then they could read the legislation that has
Right.
been put over their lives.
Right. Now, of course, that was not an objection in the United States.
Right.
In its Republican virtues.
Right.
They want everybody to be educated. But it was in England.
Right.
So it flourished in many ways in the United States, what became the United States, more than in England. But then a reformer came across, man, and he had brought the European lecture system, Horace Mann, which might have been reasonably well suited for university students, but it was not suited for younger people.
Right.
It got some traction in large part because of the success of the Lancasterian system, because when you have a system in which everybody teaches and everybody learns, you produce a lot of people who want to be teachers. Too many people, in fact. And the Horace Mann system created more jobs for teachers. Because when one guy can teach 1,000 kids, that's only creating a job for one teacher.
Right.
When a teacher is only teaching 30 kids at a time, 5 classes a day, that's creating more jobs for teachers.
So Lancaster was a victim of his own success.
Yes. But there are still Lancasterian schools in the world. It's still a method used in the military academies, for example. There's some Lancasterian schools in England and in Mexico. And what I did a few years ago is I formed the Lancasterian Society again, revived it after almost 200 years, and I've been trying to get support for the method to be adopted and for Lancasterian schools to be formed.
And is that on your Constitution website, or is that a separate website?
No, that's on the Constitution.org. It's a sub-site. I'm planning eventually to spin it out as a separate site.
On your list of things to do.
On my list of things to do.
Wonderful.
Before we came in, I pointed out my problem in that regard. Like a lot of people, I keep a list of things to do. And of course, it was getting to unwieldy because I was spending too much time maintaining my list of things to do.
Right.
So I decided, well, what I really should do is to make a final comprehensive list and estimate for each item how long it would take to do it. So I did this on a spreadsheet. Of course, on a spreadsheet, it's very easy to not only list list things, but to total things.
Right.
So when I got finished listing everything, I put a total down at the end of it, and for all the things that I wanted to do. 26,000 years.
Well, and the trick about a spreadsheet is, unlike a pad of paper, there is no bottom, there is no end. You can
Yes.
continue, there's more cells
Mhm.
and more cells every cell that you page down. So that can be the trick about spreadsheets. Maybe you should have stuck with the yellow pad.
Well, I still use the yellow pad. I have whole boxes full of them going back decades.
Wow.
But they're sort of my diary, as it were. Anyway, I figured after I came up with that number that I better delegate.
Right. And so if people wanted to help, if they wanted to say, John, I think you have great ideas. How can I help? What do I do? How can I whittle down some of these 26,000 bazillion, bajillion years of work you have left?
Well, I have a little list.
And it's on your website?
No, well, sort of. It's several lists on my website.
Mm-hmm.
On my website are plenty of things for plenty of people to do. I could easily put, tens, hundreds of thousands of people to work.
In your Lancasterian system.
Yeah, that alone. But just all the other things that need to be done. So if you out there are watching this and you don't have enough to do already, I've got some ideas for you.
And if you're watching this and you have plenty to do, but you realize that all the little side things you have may not be as effective at making change that you know needs to happen in this nation, then you need to call John, because you can definitely look back and say, oh, I probably watched too much TV or too many movies or probably read too many romance novels, for all you people out there, but you probably will never felt like you did too much to help your nation get back on the right track.
Yeah, also I think I have a pretty good track record for doing things that actually make a difference.
So you won't be wasting your time.
I don't try to do too much or underrate how much I can get done. I generally am pretty able to identify the little things you can do that are within your means to make a big difference, and a lasting difference. There's a fine art to that. Most people don't do it very well. They make a lot of effort, most of which doesn't pay off. So what I try to do is figure out, first of all, I always make it a rule that I don't try to consider doing things that require other people to do things. Okay, I just focus on what I can do with the resources under my command. And everyone should do the same. When you get together in a group, one of the first mistakes that a lot of groups do is they start coming up with all these ideas for other people to do. Okay? And it never amounts to anything. They should first make an inventory of their own resources. What people do we have here? How much time do we have? How much money do we have? What skills do we have? And how can we make use of those resources that are under our control to make a difference? Now, part of making a difference may be to get more of those things. More people, more skills, more money, and so forth. But you always want to start with the resources that are under your control and build on that. And if you do that, then you have a chance to make a big difference in the world.
So we've covered sociology and making a difference, and I'm realizing it's getting late, and my social duty requires that I go home and share my love with my husband and share a meal. Is there anything we can say to wrap it up this evening?
Well, that's a good way to wrap it up.